I am as God created me. You are as God created you. Welcome back, fam. Today we're going to be studying lesson 162 of A Course in Miracles. This lesson is one for the books. So let's go ahead and dive straight in. If you got the lesson open, you're exactly where you need to be. If you don't got the book yet, you are also exactly where you need to be. But let's get the book as soon as possible. And for now, we will use the description. PDF is there. Let's go ahead and begin. Lesson 162. I am as God created me. You are as God created you. Me and you are as God created us. This single thought, held firmly in the mind, would save the world. From time to time, we will repeat it as we reach another stage in learning. It will mean far more to you as you advance. These words are sacred, for they are the words God gave in answer to the world you made. By them it disappears, and all things seen within its misty clouds and vaporous illusions vanish as these words are spoken, for they come from God. Me and you are as God created us. Remember, we are not this body because God did not create the body. Me and you created the body, believing that we were separate from our source. And this body is a way for us to see that separation pictured outward. Now, me and you are here in remembrance based off of all the previous lessons that we've done so far, remembering that we are the life force animating this body. We are spirit. God created spirit. God extended himself to create that life force, which is me and you. And a part of us there's who we really are, which is who God created, and then there is this image over here, this self image that we believe we are, the body, the profession we are, the amount of money we have, the friends we have, the materials we possess. This is who we think we are, this tiny little insignificant self. Now, before we made this image for ourselves, we were whole, we were love, we were light, we were what God created, and that part of us still is there. I'm sure we are being and experiencing that right now. However, before we even had these bodies, me and you had a thought of, I wonder what it would be like to be separate from my source. I wonder what it would be like to be separate from all aspects of creation. What would that be like? And a little part of our mind believed that that could actually occur, although you can never really separate in truth yourself from your source. You can believe that you can, and that's exactly what happened. So a little part of our mind wandered off over here and created this little self-image, and it felt guilty for doing so. This was before you had a body. It felt guilty for doing so, and it thought, oh my gosh, my father's going to punish me. My source is going to get so mad at me for separating myself. I feel so guilty. So I have a plan. I am going to mitigate that pain that I believe that is going to be inflicted on me from my source once he finds out that I have ran away from home, if you will. So I'm going to mitigate some of that by punishing myself and inflicting guilt and fear on myself, so that way it won't be as harmful whenever my father does it to me. Now, this is something that is going on beneath everyone's level of awareness. So although it may sound very woo-woo, and it may sound very out there, and it may sound very conceptual, this is kind of the idea of what happened here, expressed to the best of my abilities with words, and we're just unaware of this. So now what we did was, me and you made this world. We made these bodies to experience what it would actually be like in an experience to be separate from our source and one another and everything that is. Now, we got what we wished for. This body is an outward depiction of who we think we are, although it is not who we really are. And even though that me and you have believed we have separated ourselves, and now me and you are here in this world that appears to be so, knock on wood, real, we are here. However, this is not where we really are. Me and you still abide in truth and in love. We are perfection, and we never could really do anything that could separate us from who we really are. Although we can believe we have believed we have, and now we are here undoing that belief, returning back to the oneness from which we stem forth from. Me and you are here to remember that we are one with all aspects of creation. Now, me and you see pictured outward our fears. Me and you believe that we are separate, therefore we see that person over there as separate, that body as separate, that situation, circumstance, event as separate. Me and you feel like we are separate from one another, so we see comparison outside ourselves. That person's better than me, that person's less than me. We believe in fear, we see a fearful world. Me and you believe in doubt, we see a doubtful world. Me and you believe in chaos and war and attack, we see all of that pictured outward. This world is something that me and you made. This body is what me and you made. Now, to make that sound not so conceptual, let me express this belief, not belief, but let me explain why this is so. And I'm just repeating what the Course has been teaching us for the past 162 days. Now, whenever you know God, whatever it is that you want to call that, we're going to call it God. Whenever you know Source, whenever you know the oneness, you know that God creates like Himself, and God creates through extension, meaning God creates timelessly, eternal, infinite, omnipresent, the unchangeable, the unalterable, meaning God created this self image that we just discussed a few minutes ago, and that cannot change. However, because me and you and the entire world believe that we are these bodies, we believe that this is who we are. This body, this hand, this face, this skin and bone. We believe that this is who we are. And this is not who we are, because remember, if God did not create it, it does not exist. This body is a symbol of who we think we are, but the body is not eternal, which crosses it off from God's creations, because God creates only eternal. This body is obviously and common sensely not eternal. It is going to turn into dust one day and perish away. It is not going to last forever. Now, don't be scared because you're not the body. You are the life force that is animating the body. You are spirit and you are eternal. However, because you believe that you are the body, you believe that whenever the body passes away and dies, then you believe that that is the end of you, and you really don't know what happens from there. But whenever you understand that the body is not the end of you, nor was the beginning of you, then that sets you free, because you know that you are eternal and you are in perfect love. You abide in perfect love, in happiness, and in peace. You are limitless in power and in peace. And me and you are currently here undoing our belief of separation, because if we don't do it here in these bodies, which is a learning device, then we are going to keep inhabiting more and more and more until we finally remember who we really are, and until we finally embody who we really are. I'm sure that's exactly what me and you are doing right now. We are embodying the pureness and state of mind, which is truth and love and light. This is who we are being in this moment. Me and you are being as God created us. However, we still have some things in this world, like we mentioned yesterday, that can trigger us and cause us to fall back asleep, like people who we see the past in them, people who we haven't forgiven, situations that occurred that push our buttons. There are things in this world that me and you have attachment to, that we value. Now, lesson 1, nothing we see means anything. Lesson 2, we have given that thing that triggers us all the meaning that it has for us. And whenever we understand, lesson 3, that we don't understand that thing that we think we see, that person that we think we see, that we think is a body, whenever we repeat these lessons, it is the most powerful thing that you could ever do, because it's helping you undo the belief that you think this world is real. It's helping you undo the belief that this world is real. Whenever we do all the lessons, which we have because we made it here, then you and anybody can come to the remembrance that we are free, we are one, there is no separation, and this is just kind of a recap of everything that we already know, but it does not hurt to to continue to bring this back every now and then, because this information right here, this truth that we are speaking right here, cannot be said enough, because we don't fully know this yet. We haven't fully been anchored in the state of mind yet, which means that it is going to be required for us to repeat this until we finally know with a capital K that this is how things work around here. Repetition is crucial and necessary, because it is the reason why we got ourselves in the position of forgetfulness to begin with. Me and you forgot who we were, and we practiced that so much that we thought that it was really us. Now, let's go ahead and begin again this lesson. We're going to pay very close attention today. So let's go ahead and get back to this, okay? Here is the world by which the Son of God, the Son, became his Father's happiness, his love, and his completion. Here creation is proclaimed and honored as it is. There is no dream these words will not dispel, no thought of sin, and no illusion which the dream contains that will not fade away before their might. They are the trumpet of awakening that sounds around the world. The dead awake in answer to its call, and those who live and hear this sound will never look on death. Holy indeed is who makes these words his own, arising with them in his mind, recalling them throughout the day, at night bringing them with him as he goes to sleep. His dreams are happy, and his reset secure, and his rest secure. His safety certain, and his body healed, because he sleeps and wakens with the truth before him always. He will save the world, because he gives the world what he receives each time he practices the words of truth. Today, we practice simply, for the words we use are mighty, and they need no thoughts beyond themselves to change the mind of him who uses them. So holy is it changed that it is now the treasury in which God places all his gifts and all his love to be distributed to all the world, increased in giving, kept complete because its sharing is unlimited, and thus you learn to think with God. Christ's vision has restored your sight by salvaging your mind. We honor you today. Yours is the right to perfect holiness you now accept. With this acceptance is salvation brought to everyone, for who could cherish sin when holiness like this has blessed the world? Who could despair when perfect joy is yours, available to all as remedy for grief and misery, all sense of loss, and for complete escape from sin and guilt? And who would not be brother to you now, you, his Redeemer and his Savior? Who could fail to welcome you in his heart with loving invitation, eager to unite with one like him in holiness? You are as God created you. These words dispel the night, and darkness is no more. The light is come today to bless the world, for you have recognized the Son of God, and in that recognition is the world's. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is the heading states, I am as God created me. You are as God created you. Now, the ego will believe that that is an arrogant statement me and you just made, because the ego is saying something along the lines of, how are you going to believe that you are as God created you? That's arrogant. You're believing that you're better than everyone else. You're saying that you are the Son of God. How arrogant, how blasphemous, how foolish of you. The ego says that because the ego does not know anything. The ego believes that it is this self that is separated from all aspects of creation. However, whenever we look at this statement from the perspective of truth, which is I am as God created me, that is not an arrogant statement at all, because you are stating that you are what God created. The ego is arrogant in believing that it is separate from everyone and everything, and believing that it is not enough, and believing that it is this little insignificant body that it made, this little insignificant belief system that it thinks it is. That's arrogant, because you are basically saying, whenever you are identified with a body, that I am something that God did not create. I am something other than what God created. And by believing you are something other than what God created is actually the arrogance here. Fear is the stranger here. The ego is the stranger. So anyone who looks at you and believes that you are arrogant and believing that you are the light of the world simply doesn't know who they really are, because the fact that they believe that they are something other than what God created is the most arrogant and blasphemous and foolish statement ever. Remember, God did not create these bodies. Me and you did to experience a world that was separate from our source. Me and you are here to experience ourselves and experience the fullness of ourselves in different aspects of creation. Don't take this so seriously. Have fun here. Understand that the only reason why you ever feel guilt of any sort is because it is something that you made up in your mind, and you're projecting outward, picturing outward. And until we get to the point where we no longer have any triggers, we are going to keep having bodies. We are going to keep coming back to this world that we made, because this body is a learning device here to help me and you learn that we are not the body, here to help us learn that we are not separate from all aspects of creation, from any aspect of creation. This body is here to help us learn that we are still one with our source, and we never really left in truth. And until we reach that recognition firmly and are anchored there and no longer have anything to throw us off balance, then we will no longer have to come in these bodies, and we will no longer need a learning device, because there's nothing left to learn. Now, again, depending on where you are in relation to this information, that may seem very woo-woo, may sound very conceptual. We're talking about reincarnation here and all that stuff, and again, it may seem pretty far-fetched depending on where you are in relation to this information. However, if you understand the fact that God only creates eternally, and God only creates what is unchangeable and unalterable, you would understand that, one, the body does not meet those qualifications because it is temporary, and two, you will understand that you create like God does because you have that same power and life force. God created you, the spirit, the life, the light. God created you by extending himself. That is who you are. However, you and me miscreated by making these bodies and believing that this was who we were. We miscreated by doing so because we took that powerful life force that we are one with, and we made a condition in which we believe that it is possible to be separate from our source. Now, this was a powerful lesson, like they all are. All of these lessons are powerful. I'm sure you know that by now. Me and you have just discussed a lot of information that has already been brought up many times before. And again, it is necessary that we do just that, because doing that is what got us in the position where we're at. Repeating false statements of ourselves, reinforcing those false statements of ourselves, believing that we are the body, believing that we are good enough because our profession or our money in our bank account or the relationships we have, believing that we're not good enough because of the people we know or don't know. All of that is just symbols of this world that mean nothing, and tying your worth to them is you believing that you are something that you are not, which is arrogant. Even think about how we began this lesson today. Me and you wandering off from our source and making a world where we can mitigate the pain that we believe that we were going to get from God because we wandered off from heaven, if you will. That is arrogant in itself, because we believe that me and you could take the place of God. We believe that we could take the place and we could do what we thought God would have done to us. Whenever me and you feel guilty, it always stems from the belief that we are separate from our source. The only problem that me and you have ever is the belief in separation that never really occurred. You believe that it has, but it really hasn't. And this information that we're discussing here is beyond so many people's minds that this sounds like another language that we're talking here. If somebody were to come to this for the first time and hear the words that we're going back and forth with in this conversation, they would believe that we are crazy for even thinking thoughts of this nature. But me and you are looking at them like, how could you not know this? How could you have deviated so far from the remembrance and the knowingness of who you are? And not only are we looking at them like that, but I don't know about you, but I'm asking myself this as well. How could I have got to the point where I deviated so far, or at least believe that I have, from my source, and now I am finally in the recognition and remembrance of who I really am? Who knows how many times and how many bodies we have done this for? Let's make this one of the last ones because it is needless to learn again who we are. Let's know who we are so that way a learning device is no longer necessary. And whenever that point comes, then we can conjure up a learning device at our command, at our will. We can choose now deliberately to inhabit a body because we want to and we would like to experience this experience. We can choose deliberately to do that. Most people haven't done that deliberately. Most people have the body that they have because they need that learning device to remember that they are one with all aspects of creation. And there are some enlightened masters among us who, at will, conjured up that body to experience and have that communication device and to be that teacher for those who needed to remember. Now, we're going to pause right there. I know this was a an overload of information. This is some great information that we are in the remembrance of, some great knowledge that we are in the presence of. We're going to keep this on our mind all day and allow our minds to be consumed by this information, and this will help us for the lesson that we have tomorrow. So until then, I will see you there. We will be studying lesson 163 tomorrow. It's going to be a wonderful time. I will see you in a few moments.